coming up in this episode of Professional Jealousy.
Data and like AI and, it's like that's the complete opposite of who we are and who we hopefully will continue to grow as.
For me, a huge challenge was like not being in charge, not being able to just like make a decision on the spot.
And then all of a sudden, like everyone who's working is all stressed out and the whole feeling of just like happiness and fun was just gone. I had my phone and I just kind of pulled it down under the table and I texted Pam, "What is CPG?" And we started Googling,
Hello, I'm Natasha Jakubowski, and this is my podcast, Professional Jealousy, where I talk to people that I'm impressed by and, yes, just a little bit envious of. I'm hoping that you too will enjoy hearing about all of their enviable achievements that we can all learn from and be inspired by. And today I'm talking to Pam Weeks and Connie McDonald, the founders of Levain Bakery. It first opened on the Upper West Side in 1995, and I think they've built what many call the world's best cookie brand store. Or just best cookie. We'll talk about the recipe that changed everything, what steady scaling and people first leadership looks like over 3 decades, insights for founders and marketers on how to build an authentic brand. And finally, they've just released a gorgeous 30th anniversary book that I've been reading and enjoying. And it's about friendship, community, and cookies, and celebrating everything that they've done. So hello, Pam, Connie. I'm so glad to have you as guests. And as I said, my kids were so impressed. Out of everyone I've spoken to, about 20 people, this time they actually were like, "Oh my gosh." So thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you so much for having us,
Hi,
Natasha.
Just in case, I mean, I doubt it, but just in case someone hasn't heard of Levain, can you give me a quick elevator pitch for the brand?
Sure. Okay. So Levain Bakery we started in 1995, and we have grown from a very small location on West 74th Street to we're opening our 19th location, I think at the end of this month, if all goes well. And we've become very well known for our 6-ounce cookies that we make, and that I think that somehow we've resonated with people, thankfully, around the world about the cookies, and everyone seems to have a story related to the cookies somehow. So here we are.
I know, amazing. I loved looking at in the book about how you met and just this, everything seems, whereas I've spoken to a lot of founders that are like, they have a plan. They're like very, driven. I'm not saying you're not driven, but I've loved your story as kind of being a little more serendipity, like meeting and being on a swim team, moving in together. Can you talk a little bit about, pre starting the business together and where you were in your lives?
Well, I think what we met, we were both in our mid to late 20s, and we were with a group of similar people. We discovered we both wanted to or had dreams of having our own businesses at some point. And, we chatted about that a lot and kind of talked about different ideas we had, and none of them were a bakery. But like you said, we were kind of open to anything, and the opportunity presented itself, and we thought, what do we have to lose? If this doesn't work out, we go get other jobs.
Yeah, and I also think that we are a little different from a lot of people who, Natasha, you said, are like really focused on building a brand, and they've got like a business plan that goes from point A to point B to point C. Whereas like when Pam and I started the bakery, it was just kind of part of our life. And we kind of grew it the way that we wanted to live our lives. So it wasn't really about like building a business more than just kind of living our lives, like, and meeting people and incorporating that into our lives.
Yeah, we wanted to do something that we enjoy doing every day with people that we had fun with. We were looking for sort of an enhancement to our lives, I guess. Not that
Yeah.
they were bad, but you know, we saw it as more of a lifestyle, perhaps.
Right. And I'll never forget this quickly when years after this, humble beginning in 1995, we were in a marketing meeting in 2018 with a company in Brooklyn, and they just kind of got it with the bakery, and they all loved it, and they were like, wow, this is so refreshing, like working with like a real brand with a real story. And we were like, well, what do you mean? um, they were like, well, usually people just come to us with an idea and we just kind of like make up things and make up this business. And we were like, wow, you can do that? Like we worked for 25 years, but it was just very funny. And so, yeah, we may have gotten to the same place as a lot of other businesses, but with a road that was much less traveled, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm a brand strategist and I build
Oh,
brands often for big
sorry.
companies. And, it's funny, I do create products and brands for massive companies, as well as working with founders, mainly on the side, actually, because it's always so good working with someone with, a genuine passion and, an idea that grows and has soul. I'm interested, like, you're not necessarily from the kind of brand or marketing side, yet you've created this really distinctive, emotive, and resonant brand. Like, what do you put that down to? Like, how do you think this brand has come to be so iconic?
Well, I think right from the beginning, we were sort of particular about the details and focusing on things that we liked and that we thought were important. Um, and I think that we kind of created our brand based on our likes and dislikes and things that were important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, it was very, was I guess it was very internal in a way. I mean, there was no social media. There was like nothing. There were barely cell phones, which is hard to imagine. So people weren't constantly taking pictures, and we had, I guess, some room to kind of experiment and figure it out. And not every single thing was always documented, perhaps.
Right. And I also think something that was always been really important to us was that we built the business on a foundation of, rather than being concerned with a spreadsheet and a P&L or anything, we built the business on making sure that, we made a great product, that our employees were happy, that our customers were happy, everyone had a great experience. And then it seemed as though all things numbers involved fell into line, even if without focusing on that.
And that's not to say that we didn't pay any attention to them, because obviously they're important, but it wasn't like our focus. We focused, on the people and the product, and the people being, our customers, our teams, our vendors. Like, we just enjoyed having relationships with them. We both came to love baking completely separately in completely different times and places. Um, and, it was just sort of one step at a time. We weren't in a huge hurry. We had somebody, an accountant, who used to say, "Oh, you're an overnight success after 20 years." Um, but,
Yeah.
we were always growing, albeit slowly. You know, we focused, sort of internally rather than externally. We focused on our business and our neighborhood and our community. Um, and as Connie said, like, we didn't focus on numbers at all, and we didn't have a formal business plan. Of course, we had a plan. We had a plan in our head.
Yeah.
We wrote some things down, but at the same time we were doing this, we had friends in business school at Columbia, and it was really interesting to compare notes with them because everything that we were actually doing and trying, they were just kind of talking about theoretically. Um, and I think Connie and I both enjoy the process of learning from doing things ourselves, like actually doing it, not just talking about it, but talking about it and then putting it into action.
Yeah.
And our friends who went to business school, the ones who have started their own businesses, it took them a lot longer because I almost think they knew too much, thought about it too much. So they had more of a fear of failure, whereas we weren't really afraid of failing. I mean, it wasn't that we thought it was an option, but we just thought if for whatever reason this doesn't work out, we're perfectly capable of going out and getting a job. We're willing to do
Yeah.
anything.
Amazing. I mean, when did you realize that it was something that could actually grow, that you could take that first location and then grow? Like, what was that moment for you? What did it feel like?
I think it was more of the physicality of actually growing out of that space. I don't know if you're familiar with our original location. It's a very tiny space on West 74th Street. You walk down the stairs, you can pretty much see the whole space. And we learned to use every inch of that space and every hour of the day. And when we realized that we were sort of maxing that out, we started thinking about, how to expand. Although we also did open another store in a more seasonal location prior to that, and that was based really on how our business got really slow in the summers, and we thought we didn't realize that as many people on the Upper West Side went away during the summer as did, and so we thought, oh, we really need to generate some more income during the summer months, and it took us a couple of years to actually figure out where and find a location, but we were looking for a couple of years.
I think it's interesting. I mean, again, when I was looking at the book, your logo when you started was basically the same logo. I mean, it's amazing looking at those early kind of posters. And it was someone that was on your swim team that did the logo. Like, so much of your branding, actually, the core has really not changed. It's just grown and been dimensionalized, maybe professionalized slightly, but the core was always there. What sort of advice would you have for first-time founders or people that have been to business school that are desperate to create that kind of authentic brand with a soul?
Well, I think that's it. I think you just use your soul. I think that you create something that you love and something that you think is great and something that you can get passionate about, rather than trying to figure out, oh, what are other people going to, how can I be successful by, figuring out what other people want. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that, but I think first and foremost, like following what's inside of you and making that,
You have to believe in it. I think it's really important to love and believe in what you're doing. I think that makes it really easy. I think, I was in a position once where I had to do something for work that I didn't really relate to, and I found it really
I was
difficult.
gonna say, lucky you once. Wow.
I just couldn't bring myself to do things that I didn't, love, honestly. Every day at work is not going to be perfect and easy and fun, but you should basically enjoy it.
Are there any things that you kind of missteps that you wish you'd avoided, or things that didn't feel quite right for your brand?
You know what's really great about Pam and my relationship is that, we did encounter some challenging things along the way, and some pretty serious business decisions that we were approached with or that we encountered. And what was really great is that we've never had the kind of relationship where I wanted to we have to do this, and Pam saying, oh, no. I have a couple of ideas in my head, and I know you do too, where both of us were just this just doesn't feel right. And we've pursued this for several months, and we're getting, and it's been really great that we've always just kind of followed our our intuitions, and they're both they
Been
always
aligned.
seem to coincide. And then, when we're getting ahead of ourselves, but down the road, when we did have a huge decision, we both felt great about the huge step that we took, in that direction. So,
And give
you
me some
know,
examples. What were the things that didn't feel right? And is the decision to
mhm,
take investment?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, as I said, that's a great thing to talk about because, over the years, as we started to grow and people saw, we had lines outside, definitely caught the eye of various people who would then approach us with business propositions. And um, most of them were honestly completely unappealing.
Right.
And
Let's take you into Walmart straight away and go everywhere.
yeah. So, we never had any disagreement about that. And then at one point, we did meet somebody who was pretty amazing. And we spoke with them quite a bit. And I don't remember the details of it, but anyway, we revisited it a couple times with them. And the last time we really got quite involved and quite far down the road, but we ultimately realized that like our vision for the brand was quite different from theirs. And, we said, we're just really sorry, but we just don't agree with where you see this going. So we can't proceed.
And it's ironic, we are still friendly with this person and things,
Yeah.
but it was, you know,
It
it was a mutual decision. It
yeah,
was
and it was a
great.
customer and who'd we known for a long time and, that kind of thing. But anyway, when we reached the point where we were really we were actually interested in talking about taking it on an investment. We started looking at people who had reached out to us recently and kind of narrowing it down to who we thought would be interested in speaking with. The second we spoke with our current investor, we both agreed that they were the ones.
And that is,
That's
The
Stripes.
Stripes Group.
Yeah, the Stripes Group.
yeah. And so why was that? So you took investment around 2018.
2018.
18.
Yeah.
Why was it the right time? What did you want to achieve?
Well, I think, we'd been doing this for quite a while. We started this when we were both in our mid 30s. So selfishly, we wanted to have some kind of, exit plan at some point.
Yeah.
But more pertinent right at that moment was that we had just gotten through yet another really insane holiday season. Even to this day, we still do a very large percentage of our business between, Thanksgiving and New Year's. And that includes in the bakeries and e-com and all of that. And it's a challenging time of year. It's a short period of time, but we were both really just tired, I think, and we're like, maybe we should revisit this. And then we'd also have we have amazing people that we work with, and we've had amazing people all the way through,
Yeah.
and we'd find ourselves sometimes losing people who we loved because they felt like we weren't growing fast enough. There was no place for them to advance. We weren't. We had a very flat organization. We didn't have, a lot of really obvious growth, I guess. And then people would say, "Oh, there's nowhere to go. It's you and Connie." But it's like, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'll give you anything I do that you want to take on." But it was just,
Yeah.
we struggled a
We
bit with
really
that.
needed that like visible management structure
Yeah.
that where people could find this path that Pam is talking about. Yeah.
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 How was it? So, you've built this amazing brand, this business where you're seeing lines outside, everything's growing. You definitely, resisted common tactics to scale fast. Your growth was very intentional. How did it feel when you got the investment? You're suddenly board members surrounded by operators and career finance people. Like, how was that transition?
I think it was a lot easier than we anticipated it might be, honestly. I mean, there were definitely challenges. For me, a huge challenge was like not being in charge, not being able to just like make a decision on the spot, having to discuss it with another group of people because they were also involved.
What
But
It's also like a huge learning curve too, about just like all of a sudden here we are like kind of immersed into this completely different world. And I'll never forget sitting at our first board meeting, and Pam and I are sitting in there with our new CEO and our new board members and the people from Stripes, who are all amazing. And the founder of Stripes starts talking about CPG. And I had my phone and I just kind of pulled it down under the table and I texted Pam, "What is CPG?" And we started Googling, because here we are. We've been launched into this, corporate world of like AUVs and CPGs and KPIs, and I was just like, my head is spinning, and so it was kind of it's we've learned so much in things, but it was just kind of a funny moment of oh boy, we've got a lot to learn here.
So learning great, money, keeping people, growth. And then there were tensions about, I'm not saying tensions, but like, suddenly having to, share responsibility and decisions. What other things did you find hard? And yeah, and any nerves in terms of where the brand or business could go?
But I think that we learned a lot about things we obviously didn't know. Like I think we didn't realize exactly what operations was and how innately, I guess, we were both operators, um, and how hard it is to find operations people who look at things the way we do. That was a huge, eye-opening
And what is the
thing.
way you do?
Uh,
Operators
The
with
right way, Natasha.
what is the
I'm
right?
only kidding.
I think that goes back to what we said at the beginning with people first.
Yeah,
Um,
not just numbers,
Not just
operators.
numbers, yeah.
Yeah,
Like we have never, honest to goodness, we actually we as we said, we struggled to hire, kind of a management team on our own, and we once hired somebody who came from, he had great, amazing New York City, like kind of luxury retail experience. And we thought, oh, he will be great because he'll get the brand. And, we came highly recommended. We met him, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, like we had hard to part ways because he could not get beyond the numbers first thing. And it was awful. And we've never, we always looked at our numbers every day, every night, every week, every month, but we never focused on it. We never talked about it.
He would start the team. He would, when we never did this, like having these like team huddles before like your shift or what.
We had
But
family meal.
yeah, family meal, right? We'd just hang around, then we'd make dinner and lunch for everybody. But, he would start off by like saying that we need to meet these goals and we've got to do this, we have to sell that. And then all of a sudden, like everyone who's working is all stressed out and the whole feeling of just like happiness and fun was just gone,
yeah, yeah.
I think another thing that has been sometimes some big decisions that, have been made, that maybe I get and Pam gets, because it's not just us anymore. And we probably would have made a different decision, out of just kind of like be patient, we can get through this and we can make it work mentality. So that's what happens. You're not the boss anymore.
Yeah, but we very clearly chose to not be the boss anymore. And,
Yeah.
we were asked if we wanted to stay on as co-CEOs and run the company, and we said no. So that was our decision. And,
Yeah. Well, they're not always. It's funny. I'm good friends with the founders of Malin and Getz, and
oh, yeah.
They also took that decision, and it is hard. Actually, you want it, but it's hard to let go.
Yeah.
sometimes.
I know.
What's your
It's kind of
baby?
right. It's kind of funny now that like back in 2018 when they said, do you guys want to be CEOs? I was like, I have no idea how to be a CEO. But now I'm like, sure, I could do that. I could totally do that because now I get it. It's just surround yourself with great people.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, and I think that's something both from looking at reading the book and talking to Lorna, who works with you
Hmm.
Um, I think that's something that is really clear, building community, not just consumers in the neighborhood, but you seem to hire well and build teams well, both from, you've got this range of people, from people who are, presumably hourly
Hmm.
workers washing stuff up, and to right through to now this more kind of senior management. Like, what are how do you do that? Do you have criteria? Do you have like things that you look for? What kind of advice would you have? Because you have a very kind of natural instinct for people, it seems.
Well, I think that we looked for people who um like would enjoy working at the bakery, I guess, who were nice. Like we always said,
That we would enjoy working with.
well, but you don't have to have any bakery experience. As long as you were nice and wanted to learn, we were willing to teach you anything. And we had a really, right from day one, we had a very diverse group of people, um, you know, from all different places in the world, literally, all different levels of education, from, no, not finishing high school to being an attorney, you know. So I think that that made it really fun and interesting because you had a diverse group of people working together, and everybody enjoyed talking to each other, and we all worked hard, but we all had a lot of fun together. Um,
Well, I also think like an important thing that we always thought too was like there are times when you're short-staffed and it's like, but we, instead of just hiring just anyone because you're short-staffed and you feel like I just need bodies in here, we would just not do that because it's just like we would just all work a little harder and keep keep the keep what we had going rather than just hiring anyone. And because it's a pretty slippery slope when you start, compromising on
Quality of people. Right. Yeah. And also, we always tried to pay people well, as more than the going rate. We always, tried to give bonuses when we could, even probably when we had no business doing that. We had profit sharing as soon as we could get that set up. We had medical insurance available, and basically it was free. Um, so we tried to have, benefits, and, just make it a really nice place
Yeah.
to work, a place, that we would enjoy working, and we were enjoying
Yeah.
working there.
Yeah. No, amazing. Um, do you have like how do you kind of help people that join understand what the brand is? How do you talk to them about it? How do you help them feel what the Levain brand is?
That's a good question. It's a lot of times people want to join because they feel it and they get it even before they join. Like, we always used to have a lot of women who were considering re-entering the workforce after having had a family, and might be 45 or 50 years old. And, they'd come into the bakery because they'd come in with their kids or come in after like taking a class with friends and have coffee, and then they think, wow, this is a place where I would really love to work. And we've got a woman who works for us now who's been with us for years now, and she's like, I don't know, she's got a pretty senior level, and started just as that, and she's always gotten it. And we also rely on people kind of handing that down and
Telling people. Yeah, I was gonna
right.
say, I think we also get a lot of career changers, because people come
Yeah.
into the bakeries and it feels good, it feels happy, and people think, wow, this feels so different from where I am. I want to work somewhere like this. And people will say, can I come work with you? We had somebody who, he's in the book actually, he was an attorney, and he used to just like hang out. And finally we were like, you can't keep hanging out here. You gotta work. We can't talk to you
Yeah.
all day. Um, and kids of friends,
Yeah.
now that we're at the stage where we have kids who are
Oh, totally.
able
My
to work,
my
you know
13-year-old is desperate to work.
oh, well, we would
Oh,
love that.
great.
that
Uh,
I have to say, I love teenagers, because most of the time or often they're working because they want to do that. They
Yeah,
want to be
totally.
there. They're dying to be a part of it. And their enthusiasm is so amazing and they have great energy. And as Connie said, then we also have the other end of the spectrum. We have, I would say, our staff ranges from 15 to 65 probably. And
Yeah.
it's great. It's nice to work with a wide range of
Yeah.
ages.
Like, and diverse, like you said, just kind of
Hmm.
like New York City. I do think that's part of the power of your brand is that you just attract your people in a very kind of organic
Yeah.
way. How
Hmm.
how do you market now? So, you've got all these locations. Um, you have a very strong brand that I presume makes it easy for them all to look the same, and you've built this strong culture. How do you market? Like, what actually is successful for you?
That's something you can definitely talk to Lorna more about.
I was just thinking.
I
But
know.
but, I think it starts with picking a great location, and, that's been a challenge for us to kind of translate because, you know, we didn't have a lot of locations, but we picked them very thoughtfully, and, after the transaction, as we were expanding a bit more rapidly, we were still picking them that way, but we realized we had to start trying to teach other people how we chose these locations. And it's a very, and we've talked to other founders about this too, like, you choose your locations so instinctually. It's like, you find cities and neighborhoods and walk around, and eventually you realize, like, this is where we should be. So
Right. I think avoiding the temptation that a lot of other people might have it of just basing every real estate decision on data and like AI, and it's like that's the complete opposite of who we are and who we hopefully will continue to grow as.
Yeah.
Um, and I
Yeah.
think that, Lorna would definitely say that she tries to market us as a neighborhood bakery, no
well,
matter
that's
where we are.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's
No
our
matter
goal.
how big you get, no matter
Yeah.
That
where you.
will always be your
Our
neighborhood bakery.
Right. Our goal in growing is to create a neighborhood bakery anywhere that we open, to be part of the community. I mean, obviously, I think Connie and I can speak most closely about the 4 locations that we were super involved in. And then the few locations after that, as we've grown faster, we haven't had the opportunity to spend as much time in each location. But when you spend time in locations, you really get to know your customers and the neighborhoods. And we've made so many amazing friends, like, from people who live in our communities, and we're able to hire people who live there. We're able to give back to the schools and, organizations that are nearby. And that was something that has always been really important to us.
Yeah, no, so interesting. I'm sure there's like a business school way of picking locations and the numbers and the zip code demographics and blah, blah,
Yes.
blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything you've done seems much more about like what feels right,
Hmm.
uh, really intentional growth. Are there any things that, any decisions that have uh, that you've made that you wish you hadn't? Like anything that you wish you could do a do-over, or generally you just learnt and carried on?
Well, one pops into my head really quickly that um, there's something I think that, and this happened, it was kind of a product of COVID and everything being done on Zoom, but nothing takes the place of meeting someone in person. And even if you think like Zoom, so it's like I wish that I had met a person, in for big decisions. It's great to meet someone online or whatever, but before a real, like, in my opinion, before a really big decision is made, meeting someone in person is, from now on, is going to be a must.
Yeah, that feels like a kind of a non-negotiable or a never. Are there any
Yeah.
other things that you feel like have helped you? Any other never nevers for the brand or how you do business?
Well, I think it's really important to not jump on bandwagons of whatever's going on around you. People have asked us over the years, well, what'd you do about this? What'd you do about that? It's like, well, we didn't really do anything. We were just focused on like our community and our problems and our local, rather than such a global view, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like you can't solve and be there for everybody. So you have to focus on what you can actually control and do and be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, over 30 years, I mean, even in the last couple of years, like the consumer is so different. I mean,
Mhm.
ignoring AI and how,
Mhm.
the world politically, things like GLP-1s and
Mhm. Oh,
consumer trends in what people eat.
mhm.
Do you think about that sort of stuff, or you just think we know
No, I
what we're
think
doing?
you're absolutely right. I think that, as Pam said, I think that we've always tried to just stay focused on what we were doing. But yeah, sure, you do think about it a little bit sometimes, um, because for the longest time, maybe I don't know how many years ago this was, with everyone kind of the Atkins diet craze and everyone, and maybe we saw a dip in bread sales and things, but it's just kind of like, as we've learned, just like being patient, and doing what we're doing and being there for people and not changing and not wavering.
Yeah. Like we didn't stop making bread because a lot of people stopped eating it for a bit, and it really,
Yeah.
it was fine.
Right. And not changing your standards. It's like it always comes back, and often at a higher level than you ever would have expected.
I think it's good to not have sort of knee-jerk reactions to things that are going on around you, because a lot of those things are going to pass. And just focusing on what you do and staying true to that.
That's worked for us for sure.
Yeah. Um, I mean, both of you are so kind of come across as so comfortable and confident in who you are
Took a
together.
long time to get there, Natasha.
Yeah, what advice do you have would you give to your younger selves or to anyone, uh, it's so easy. I think it does get easier as you get older. Like I definitely feel like, God, I worried about so much stuff that was pointless. Like, what sort of advice would you give people to kind of grow into their own confidence, gain confidence?
I feel like there is an advantage to youth in that, like, you don't know what you don't know. So that gives you like a confidence that in a certain way that you don't have as you learn more. I don't know. It's a hard
Well,
question.
yeah, I know for myself that I struggled as, like, especially like in my late teens and early 20s and through my 20s with, like, I just everything in my life was just kind of like a little bit of a, I guess at that point I felt like it was a mess and I didn't know, what I was doing, where I was going. And I feel so fortunate now because I do feel very comfortable. And I also, even though I was a I don't regret anything. That I'm thankful for everything I went through, because I feel as though it made me like more empathetic to a lot of people's like struggles, because I've been through a lot of them myself. And I kind of feel like, if you can understand what people are going through and let people know that you really do understand, I think that a lot of people just want to be heard and understood. And I don't know, I just feel like,
I think that an important thing is that, like, realizing that what you're going through at any moment is just like it's a time and a period to learn and grow from if it's challenging, or to really enjoy and embrace if it's wonderful. But it's just that moment, and you're going to move forward and learn from it and grow from it no matter what it is. And
as long as you try to do the right thing,
yeah, I think
it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like partly, your friendship has endured and has obviously worked so well and probably given you confidence together
Hmm.
and stability. And any advice for people with co-founders, because it doesn't always work out. So
I
no.
any
know.
advice or
Mhm.
tips for how to, whether it's, I don't know, about picking a co-founder or making ways of decision making that can, you seem very aligned, but are there things that help?
Well, I think that we realized that we obviously both couldn't be doing the same thing. We had to divide and conquer. So sometimes maybe we weren't working on what our first choice of project or would be, but we were working towards a common goal. And I think it's been really helpful to have somebody to work with, because I can't, if I'd done this on my own, I would have been impossible, because you know it's, or not impossible, but I can't imagine it. Like, it's so much easier to have somebody to share the highs and lows with. And usually, if you're having, I don't know, a down day or a struggle, the other person can really help, because they're usually not in that same place at the same time. But I think in picking a business partner, it's really important to pick somebody, because Connie and I are so different, very different personalities, which you've probably figured out by now. Um, but we have the same kind of common core values. And I
Yeah.
think in any kind of relationship, a business partnership, a friendship, like a marriage, probably, like,
Yeah.
having that common core place that you connect on and that you agree on kind of sets the foundation for whatever you're working on together.
Yeah.
Stole my answer.
Oh,
Values, both value system and
Yeah,
actually an agreement for where you're going,
right.
yeah.
presumably. So you have done so much. You've got, this amazing book, 30 years, you've taken investment. Um, what are your goals in the near and long term? Are you going to be riding off into the sunset or building a global empire?
I think that um, we are at 30 years. It's a great point at which to say, I am going to start stepping back a bit. But we've also tried to set things up, hopefully, for things to perpetuate in a way that they've worked in the past. So, like, our goal is to do that, but also, we'll still be around.
But also
And
to build a global empire.
exactly, but a global empire that we're proud of.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, it's a challenge, but to do that every bakery is your neighborhood bakery. That's
Yeah. Somebody once said to us, that we're trying to do something that no one's been able to do before, and that is to really grow and scale while maintaining your identity and brand and culture. And I think you probably know by now, like, if you give Connie and I a challenge, we really want to do it.
make it work.
Yeah, so that's
Amazing.
our goal.
Okay. All right. Last few kind of quick fire questions. What we're going to start with an easy one, maybe. What is your desert island dessert?
Something chocolate, of course.
Yeah, I'll go with chocolate with a little mocha mixed in with it.
It
Okay.
has to be something baked.
Of
Could be
course.
cake,
Oh, but
cookie.
ice cream too, but
Oh, I saw
complicated
you
answer.
some ice cream. That feels like a CPG extension. What are both of your, because you are different. I mean, yeah, you are different. What are both of your superpowers that have helped you be successful?
I think mine is probably my attention to minute details.
Yeah, Pam is very organized. And maybe I don't know, I don't really get very flustered about things. And I don't know, I love meeting people.
Amazing. Do you have mentors or, role models or mentors that have influenced you or helped you on your journey?
Well, I think for me, I worked with Norma Kamali for several years, many years. And I do feel like I learned so much from her, from so many, from her attention to detail, from learning that change is inevitable, to constantly evolving and growing, and, she's been around for much longer than we have, and she's got an amazing brand that's still evolving and growing and
Yeah,
amazing.
she's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Um, what is your superpower?
Oh, my superpower.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Like I said, I just think it's that I don't know. I don't get flustered about things. Um, I like to teach people things.
She's very, very patient. That might be your
Oh yeah,
superpower.
I'm
She's got the
patient.
patience of,
I love that patience plus attention to detail is looking pretty methodical, and I can see some of how this worked out. Best career advice, worst career advice you've ever had?
well, the worst career advice we ever had was very early on. Someone told us to get out of that lease at 74th Street. This business was never going to work. Luckily, we didn't listen.
And I think that the best career advice is, run, don't walk to fix a problem, because it's only the sooner something can be fixed, the better, because it's only going to get worse. So as scary as something might seem to face it head on, it's much better to do it in the moment rather than down the road.
What are your favorite restaurants in New York?
Oh, that's such a hard question.
Okay, I have recently, because I could go like old school too, but recently, Sailor in Brooklyn, King.
Yeah, I love King.
So that's a good old one.
Yeah, it's
Classic.
just very.
Well, I meant really old, but
There used to be a restaurant on 75th Street, right around the corner from the bakery, that we pretty much went every night for a while because we were working all the time. And it was really like Cheers. It was the most amazing place.
Tom Valenti was the chef. Amanda Freitag was the sous chef. It was
Yeah, it was just
amazing.
like, it was so much fun. And, we're still in touch with those people. That rendition of that restaurant is long gone, but
Not
Amazing.
forgotten.
yeah.
Not forgotten. All right. I'm so sad. Last question. Tell me about someone or something you're professionally jealous of.
Oh, I'm totally jealous of people who can sort of maybe segment their lives a bit better. Um, I'm I tend to throw myself 100% into whatever I'm doing at the moment, and like for the last 30 years, that's been the bakery.
So now you're going to have more time to.
I
You
know
can
I'm gonna have to
create
figure that
more.
out.
I know, now you have no excuses. So,
All right. What about you?
I have to say kind of the same thing. Well, it's funny because I knew you were going to say when we were talking about this before, and I was going to, because we have someone specifically in mind, who's
Okay.
a great, great, great.
Name.
She's Lauren Brill Castle. And hey, maybe this is from afar, it looks like she's got this great balance, because she might say I have no balance, but she pulls it off really well. And she used to work for us when she was in college and things, at the bakery on 74th Street. And she's built this incredible brand called Sweet Lauren's. And she's got a beautiful family, and we're really proud of her. And I guess a little jealous.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. I don't know how the time flew. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank
doing
you.
Thank
that.
you for having us.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Just amazing. I'm just like blown away by your steady growth and focus on details, product, people. That has just built this brand that people love and that is enduring. And amazingly, so many of the elements were there right from the beginning, which is incredible. You can find out more about their story or check out their beautiful book, and visit levainbakery.com, or obviously one of the neighborhood bakeries. Please take a look at some of the other episodes we've done. You can find them on Spotify, Apple, professionaljealousy.com, YouTube. Get in touch if you have any questions, feedback, or importantly, anyone you'd like to see featured. A quick thank you to Anomaly, Unreasonable Studios, Shimmy Boyle for helping me produce. And you can follow me on LinkedIn, Professional Jealousy Podcast, on Instagram. Subscribe, review, tell others to, I don't know, sign up. It'll help. Hope to catch you soon. Okay. Thank you.